Hi, this is Listen. Welcome back. We're going to talk about intermittent fasting. Every day, without noticing it, your body is constantly switching back and forth. This means it's moving repeatedly between two states. It's switching back and forth. So it's moving between eating and not eating. And that simple rhythm, it quietly influences your weight, your energy, your mood, your brain, your liver, your gut, and even how fast you age. Most people spend years focusing on what to eat. So when we say focusing on or to focus on, this means to give most of your attention to something. Most people spend years focusing on what to eat. Carbs versus fat. Calories versus macros. Plant-based versus animal-based. But very few people stop and step back. When we say step back, we mean to look at the bigger picture. Very few people do this. They don't step back and ask a different question. When should I eat? That's the key question, when. That question leads us straight into what we call intermittent fasting. It's also called time-restricted feeding, which just means eating all of your food inside a limited daily window, time window, and not eating the rest of the time. You see, if there's one topic that always sets people off, to set someone off means to make them emotional or angry. It's diet and nutrition. This always sets people off. Online discussions, they quickly turn into arguments. Turn into means to change into something else. Online discussions quickly turn into something else. Arguments where nobody listens. You'll hear phrases, people saying things like, calories are the be-all and end-all. Be-all and end-all just means the only thing that matters. People say things like, hormones change everything. Carbs are the enemy. Fat will block your arteries or clog your arteries. So instead of jumping to conclusions, meaning to decide too quickly without enough evidence, instead of jumping to conclusions, we need to clear the air, meaning to remove confusion and misunderstandings. We need to clear the air on this. A long, well-designed study comparing a healthy low-fat diet with a healthy low-carbohydrate diet found no meaningful difference in weight loss when calories were controlled. Meaningful difference means a difference big enough to matter scientifically. So at first glance, at first look, this seems to fly in the face of everything. To fly in the face of something means to strongly contradict it. This argument seems to fly in the face of everything people argue about online. But there's a catch. Weight loss does depend on calories in versus calories out. That's a common expression, meaning how much you eat compared to how much you burn. But what many people fail to take into account is that calories out is not fixed. When you take something into account, it just means to consider something important. Calories out depends on things like exercise, metabolic rate, meaning how much energy your body uses just to stay alive, and something called NEAT, which means calories burned through daily movement like walking or cleaning or just fidgeting, just moving. Some people naturally burn through far more energy just by moving more. To burn through means to use up quickly. They burn through more energy just by moving more. And then there are hormones. We say that hormones quietly pull the strings. To pull the strings means to control things behind the scenes. Hormones quietly pull the strings in the body. So hormones are like hidden managers. Hormones like insulin, thyroid hormones, growth hormone, testosterone, estrogen. These hormones play a huge role, meaning they strongly influence outcomes. So when people argue about calories versus hormones, they're actually talking past each other. When you hear that, talking past each other, this means to argue without addressing the same point. Calories matter, and hormones decide what your body does with these calories. And timing affects hormones. Your body lives in two main modes. Two different worlds, if you like. You have the fed state, FED. The fed state is what happens after you eat. Your blood sugar rises, insulin rises, and your body is in what we call storage mode, which means it's focused on either using or storing this incoming energy. And the size of that response, that depends on what you eat. Simple sugars cause sharp spikes. Refined carbs cause strong increases. Fibrous vegetables cause much smaller rises. Protein causes a moderate response. And fat has the smallest immediate impact. The fasted state, this is the other state that happens when you haven't eaten for a while. Your insulin drops. Other hormones rise. Your body starts tapping into stored energy. Tapping into means to start using a stored resource, and it breaks down fat for fuel. So here's the key point that people often gloss over. When you gloss over something, you ignore it. Something important. But you ignore it, you gloss over it. This switch between the two states, this takes time. And time matters more than you think in this situation. Because even after your last bite of food, insulin and blood sugar, they remain elevated, they remain at a high state for hours. So the benefits of fasting come not from simply not eating, but from staying in the fasted state long enough. So this explains why what we call time-restricted feeding. This explains why it can tip the balance, why it can push things in a particular direction. Why this time-restricted feeding can tip the balance toward fat loss, repair, and metabolic health. In studies, animals eating the same food and the same calories, they had completely different outcomes, completely different results, depending on this timing. Those animals that were allowed to eat all day, they ended up overweight. Ended up just means to arrive at a final result. They ended up overweight, inflamed, and metabolically sick. Those animals eating inside a limited window, a limited period of time, they came out ahead, meaning they had better results. They came out ahead. They had a healthier weight, better liver function, and improved metabolic markers. This wasn't about food quality. It was all about structure and timing, because your body runs on a clock. Inside you is what we call a circadian rhythm, meaning a 24-hour biological clock. Around 80% of your genes, they turn on and off throughout the day. When eating happens at consistent times, everything falls into place, meaning it starts working smoothly. It falls into place. Everything falls into place. When everything happens randomly, systems drift out of sync, meaning they're not properly aligned. And we have higher risks of things like inflammation and disease. Food isn't just fuel, it's a signal. The liver, for instance, is a metabolic workhorse. A workhorse is just something that does a lot of hard work reliably. The liver is a metabolic workhorse. If you eat across 14, 16, or 18 hours, the liver never gets enough downtime to repair. It never gets enough rest to repair. Time-restricted feeding creates what we call a breathing space. A breathing space is a chance to rest and recover. This allows liver fat to decrease and insulin sensitivity to improve. And within weeks, significant improvements can show up, can appear, can show up. One of the biggest fears people have with all of this, with intermediate fasting or intermediate eating, is hunger. But as the body adapts, appetite often dies down. It becomes weaker. It dies down. And this is when people experience what we call a turning point. This is a moment when things clearly change. Food stops running the show. To run the show just means you are in control. You run the show. Food stops running the show, and you regain control instead. A simple place to start is to push breakfast back. This is to delay it gradually. To ask yourself if you're eating out of habit or real hunger. There are two non-negotiable rules here. Non-negotiable means not open to debate. No calories for at least 1 hour after waking, and no calories for 2 to 3 hours before bed. Those two rules never change. An 8-hour eating window hits the sweet spot. When we say something hits the sweet spot, this means it works especially well. So an 8-hour eating window hits the sweet spot between benefits and practicality. Now, snacking may seem harmless, but it messes with insulin. When we say messes with, when something messes with something, it means it interferes with it. So snacking messes with insulin, and it keeps the body from fully entering the fasted state. Even small protein snacks can set you back, slow your progress. They can set you back by restarting hunger shortly afterward. This is why constant snacking or grazing is a recipe for stalled progress. When we say a recipe for something, we mean something likely to cause something. So this is why constant grazing or snacking is a recipe for stalled progress. Adding fat at the end of meals helps you stick to fasting without cravings. To stick to means to maintain consistently. Vegetables provide minerals and fiber that support gut microbes. Support means help function properly. So minerals and fiber, they support gut microbes, which improves insulin sensitivity and digestion. You should eat vegetables first so they don't get crowded out. Crowded out means replaced by something else. Eat the vegetables first. And don't panic. What we mean by that is when burning fat, cholesterol can rise temporarily, and this often freaks people out. This just means to panic. To freak out means to panic. But particle size matters more than total number. Large LDL particles, this stands for low-density lipoproteins, but large LDL particles are generally less concerning, less worrying than small, dense LDL, which often appears with high-carb diets. Eating pushes the body toward growth mode. Fasting shifts it into repair mode. There's a key protein here called mTOR, M-T-O-R, which becomes more active when you eat and quieter when you fast, when you don't eat. And that's why fasting supports cellular cleanup, immune renewal, and long-term health. A short walk after meals helps speed things up, meaning accelerate the transition to fasting. A short walk after meals helps speed the process up. Some supplements, they mimic fasting, but they can be hard to control. Once you start to take them, you are along for the ride, we say, meaning you can't easily stop the effects. A simple tool is actually salt in water, which can help stabilize blood volume and reduce dizziness during fasting. But remember, one size doesn't fit all. So not everything is fixed for everybody. Not everyone thrives, not everyone does well on intermittent fasting. For some people, it can backfire. To backfire means to cause the opposite result, affecting mood or hormones. And that's why fasting is a tool. It's not a rule book. The bottom line, the most important point. Health is not about perfection. It's about stacking the odds in your favor, meaning making success more likely. Stacking the odds in your favor. When you eat is as important as what you eat. Because your body isn't just a stomach, it's a clock. Let's go through some of the language we use today, some phrasal verbs and key vocabulary, and the idioms and sayings. We said to set the scene. This is to describe the background so people understand what is coming. To switch back and forth. This is to move repeatedly between two states or actions. To focus on something is just to give attention to something. When we say step back, we mean pause and look at the bigger picture. To set someone off, this just means to make someone emotional or angry. To turn into, this means to change into something else. And when we jump to conclusions, we decide too quickly without enough information. We jump to conclusions. If you hear somebody say, we need to clear the air, to clear the air is to remove confusion or misunderstanding. Fly in the face of, strongly contradict something. Fly in the face of. To take into account is just to consider something important. And when you burn through something, you use it up quickly. Pulling the strings, secretly controlling a situation. Talk past each other. This is to argue without actually addressing the same point. To tap into something is to begin using it, to begin using a stored resource. When we gloss over something, we ignore it. We skip over something important, we gloss over it. Tip the balance. Push a situation in one direction. And to end up is just to arrive at a final result. When we come out ahead, we finish in a better position. We come out ahead. To fall into place, to start working smoothly. And to die down is to gradually become weaker or calmer. Storms die down after a while. To run the show, be in control. When we push something back, we delay it. We push meetings back, make them later, we delay them. When we mess with something, we are interfering with it or disrupting it. To set someone back, this is to slow someone's progress. To stick to, continue doing something consistently. And to get crowded out, this is to be replaced or pushed aside. To freak out. Don't freak out, you'll hear. This is don't panic, don't overreact. Freak out is to panic or overreact. Speed things up, make them happen faster. And to backfire is to cause the opposite result. If you hear stack the odds in your favor, it means to increase your chances of success, stacking the odds in your favor. Okay, a little key vocabulary. Intermittent fasting, by the way, is a pattern of eating where you alternate between eating and not eating. Time-restricted feeding. This is eating all your meals within a limited daily time window or opening. Calories in versus calories out. Energy eaten versus energy burned. NEAT. You heard us talk about NEAT. This is calories burned through daily movement, not exercise. Hormones, chemical messengers that control processes in the body. Insulin. This is a hormone. It's a hormone that helps move sugar from the blood into the cells. The fed state is the body's condition after eating, and the fasted state is the body's condition after not eating for a period of time. Circadian rhythm. This is just your body's 24-hour internal clock. Metabolic flexibility is the ability to switch easily between burning sugar and fat. Liver fat is excess fat stored in the liver. You heard LDL cholesterol. This is a type of cholesterol particle in the blood. and mTOR. This is just a protein linked to growth and cell building. It's a protein pathway linked to growth and cell building. Repair mode, the biological state focused on healing and cleanup. Growth mode is a biological state, and this is focused on building tissue. If ever you hear hypoglycemia, this is blood sugar that is too low. We used a few idioms and sayings throughout today's episode. You heard the be-all and end-all. This is just a way of saying the only thing that matters, the be-all and end-all. The bigger picture, the overall situation, not just details. When you hear fly in the face of something, that flies in the face of whatever. This means it strongly contradicts common belief. To pull the strings, control something secretly, behind the scenes. To run the show is to be in charge. A turning point is a moment when things clearly change. And to hit the sweet spot, this means reaching the most effective balance. A recipe for disaster. This is something that's likely to cause problems. When you heard along for the ride, you are along for the ride. This means you are unable to control what happens next. You're along for the ride. One size does not fit all. This means that the same solution doesn't work for everyone. We talked about a tool, not a rule book. This is just referring to something flexible, not strict. And finally, to stack the odds in your favor. Stacking the odds in your favor just means improving your chances of success. And that is everything for today. This is Listen. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to share and subscribe. And we'll see you in the next episode. Until then, bye-bye for now.